Hi guys, I'm Heidi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing the New York Times by the book tag. I was tagged in this by Duncan McCurdy, thank you Duncan, and this seems like a lot of fun, so let's get started. Question 1, what book is on your nightstand now? I'm currently reading Network Effect by Martha Wells. This is the 5th book in the Murderbot Diaries series. I've read maybe around 70% and I'm absolutely loving it so far. It's definitely one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time. And I'm also reading Dead Souls by Nikolai Gogol. This is a weird looking edition, but it's from a time when a local newspaper published affordable versions of world and Estonian classics, so it's from that time. And I'm not that far into it, but I am enjoying it so far. I generally tend to enjoy Russian classics, so here's hoping that I'll like this. Question 2, what was the last truly great book you read? I would have to say The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I have it in 2 volumes. And I'm a character-driven reader and no one does characters better than Dostoevsky, so I would definitely have to say this one. Question 3. If you could meet any writer, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you want to know? I don't know if I would want to meet writers just for the purpose of asking them a question. I've met a few of them and I think I much prefer just listening to them talk about their books. But if I have to choose someone, I suppose I would maybe want to ask Tolkien what he'd think of the Lord of the Rings films. Question 4. What books might we be surprised to find on your shelves? I don't know, physically probably none, but on my Kindle maybe romance books? I don't know. Question 5. How do you organize your personal library? I don't. My books are everywhere and in no particular order. I tend to keep books by the same author together, but that's about it. Question 6. What book have you always meant to read and haven't gotten around yet? Anything you feel embarrassed never to have read? There are so many. I did a whole video on books that I've been meaning to read for the longest time, but if I had to pick one, I'd say A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. I have the hardback edition from when it first came out, and that was ages ago, and I still haven't read this. And I've since read Black Leopard, Red Wolf by the same author and absolutely loved it. So here's hoping I'll be able to finally get to this year as well. And to answer the second part of the question, I am not embarrassed about books I haven't read. Question 7. Disappointing, overrated, or just not good? What book did you feel you were supposed to like but didn't? Do you remember the last book you put down without finishing it? Well, The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. I already talked about this in a wrap-up. I didn't think it was a bad book, it just wasn't for me. Question 8. What kind of stories are you drawn to and stay clear of? Well, usually stories with complex characters and lots of character development. And I'm not usually into stories set during World War II. I've had to read a bunch of them for school, and it was a time period that I had to study extensively both at school and at uni, so I just feel like I've had my fill. Question 9. If you could require the president to read one book, what would it be? Well, my president is the Estonian president, and she is quite well read, I think, but I think I would recommend either some good fiction or some fun non-fiction. It would be very tempting to pick an important book on an important topic, but I think someone doing a stressful job would probably appreciate some escapism. So first of all, I would recommend Kahe, heli, vahel by Joonas Sildre. This is a graphic novel about Berg, an Estonian composer who is one of the most performed living composers of classical and religious music in the world. I'm not religious, but his music is something very, very special. And the graphic novel is about his life and it is just a lovely read. Then I would recommend Päevaraamat by Johannes Aavik. The guy on the cover, these are his diaries. He was an Estonian philologist who played a very important part in the development of the modern Estonian language. He lived in the late 19th, early 20th century, and he came up with a lot of words that we still use today. His diaries are humorous, extremely well written, and strangely relevant today. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And finally, I would recommend The Spy and the Traitor by Ben Macintyre. It's the story of Oleg Gordievsky. He worked for the KGB during the 70s and the 80s, but he was also a spy for the MI6 at the same time. And his escape from the Soviet Union was just ridiculous. It's one of my favorite books from 2020. It's one of the best thrillers I've ever read, and it's a non-fiction book and a true story. I'm constantly recommending this to everyone. And finally, question 10, what do you plan to read next? Well, probably A Morbid Taste for Bones by Ellis Peters. It's the first book in the Cat File Chronicles series, and it's the January pick for the Genre Raiders book club. And possibly The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I think I've put that one off long enough. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!